What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Thursday, August 22nd, and we're back in the away end to preview RIFC's upcoming away match versus Loudoun United. So cozy up, crack a bear, and let's dive into this one. Just a reminder, each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel and click the like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you took a second to leave us a 5-star rating and a short review, as it helps more people find our podcast, helps us grow. If you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, click the link in this episode description to get on the site and go into the code Tide Talk, all one word, all lowercase, I think works best, to get a free pack added to your collection. This might sound a little bit more like a live show for me. I've got Graham in the background right here running around. Zach will be coming home. My dog might be going wild, but just prepping you guys for the noise that is the Kerwin house.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But I'm joined. It's my first time back on in a while, so it feels really good to be, back. I missed the last couple episodes just due to this, that, and everything. So always good, but always good to see my good friend Ryan Healy on the other side of the screen. It's been a long time since I've talked to you on camera, Ryan. How are you, my friend?
I'm just happy I don't have to stumble over that whole intro tonight. You took it. It was great. Apologies for the past episodes. It's unbelievable.
It's a lot to get.
A lot of ground to cover. But no, happy to be back. It felt very strange. I was just texting you being like, hey, what are you up to? Like, want to just get on camera really quick and chat just about nothing. But no, nice to be back.
It's really weird for a Spur and a Gooner to get along like that off camera too. So like, it's crazy. But we're joined by Adam from the Next in Line podcast, who covers Loudoun United. Adam, how's it going, my friend?
Adam Andelovitz here. Technically one of the two Adams, because my co-host is also named Adam Davis, though he couldn't make it tonight. So, but hope I can do the job of two Adams.
Two Adams, one pod, right?
Something like that. We were originally called Two Loud Adams, but then after partnering with RFK Refugees, we changed it to Next in Line. Maybe there's another rebrand coming in the future. Who knows?
That's it. We love a rebrand around here. We've done it already too. So it's really hot right now. So.
We know what's up with that.
Yeah,
great way to get new stickers. Yeah. That much.
Plus, I kind of feel that I've also been on a bit of a unplanned hiatus due to, let's just say, personal reasons. But appreciate y'all contacting me. So
awesome.
Maybe we can both get back in the swing of things.
Well, I think it all started because I had messaged the USL
two
Championship.
Ryans are back.
Two Ryans are back, as Ryan hosted on my account last time.
Let me tell you all, the behind the scenes of me hosting was an absolute disaster. It was like me texting Matt with like 1 minute to go before live, being like, how the hell do there's no button. Like there's a mess.
Where I was in New Hampshire, like in a hotel room. So like
at one point you were at a concert the other time. I was like FaceTiming you. You're like, I'm literally at a concert. It was not good.
I think I was in like the merch line or the bear line too. Yeah. So, it is what it is there. But I was trying to change that quick, and apparently that did not work out well for me. Actually, we'll figure it out by the end of this. But before we dive into the match itself and the preview, Adam, talk about the podcast. You mentioned you guys had a rebrand. We rebranded, so we can appreciate that. But talk about your podcast. Talk about the other Adam. I'm sure he's watching, or he'll be watching it back, and what you guys do and all about your show.
Yeah, well, I guess the quick history of the Two Loud Adams / Next in Line pod is, the team itself, Loudoun United, came into being 2019, and then the following year, the second season, we met at when the Philadelphia Union 2 was going there.
Sorry, I was pointing at my screen. Hey, you're good.
Sorry. Anyways, that's not something I was doing. Anyways, Philadelphia Union 2, back when they were still, before there was the MLS Next Pro League was still a thing. Anyway, so, we went there, we had fun. It was great. And then 2 games later, everything shut down when COVID rolled through the country. And we were like, we were trading things about DC United Academy. There's still a little bit of connection. I'll get into that later. And the Loudoun United itself. And we were like, let's start. And then I think Adam Davis once said, hey, maybe we should start a podcast. We just, do something with all this local soccer nerding that we're doing. And that's how it was born. And a few years later, through twists and turns, we're still kicking and following the team and the related local soccer news.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, so really appreciate you bringing like us through the history of the pod and just kind of taking a look. Well, actually, before we get into like taking a look at Loudon season, obviously before we get into this game, we're talking about Loudon and kind of your story. Do you have any traveling fans going to the match? Do you have any like suggestions for them or kind of places they should go before the game or tailgating, things like that?
Well, for folks who are into imbibing, there's a lot of good wineries and breweries around. There's the craft of brewing where it's, I guess, a little more new, but you can make your own. There's the Old Ox Brewery. There's Mustang Sally's Brewery, though that one's a little bit of a drive away. And then there's the offshoot of the Anchor Bar, Anchor Inn from Buffalo, where they've hosted us when we've had away match parties. If you want to get some classic buffalo wings,
okay,
and brews, they're pretty good, and they're only like about a 5-minute drive from the stadium. So there's some spots. Others I could probably think of after we finish taping.
No worries.
What's the is there like a good tailgate scene too?
The tailgate scene we're kind of working on because we had one, and then there was apparently a conflict between the stadium staff and the local county parks and rec department about what is and isn't considered safe. I don't want to get into particulars, but basically there is like a small beer garden type deal we've got inside the stadium, but and we're looking to expand on that in the near future, but there's a lot of red tape kind of surrounding that right now. Is all I can say.
That stinks.
Yeah, classic. Well, there's a dispute around what is a beer and what isn't. So getting us back on track, and apologies for the true Tide Talk away end listeners who were just thrown off by that out of order question. I was filibustering to get Fat Mob up. So looking at Loudon season so far, you guys almost have a perfectly symmetrical record. You are 9-6-8 with a +8 goal differential, 33 points, which just so happens to be the same amount of points as Rhode Island FC. You guys are in 7th place, but you also do have a goal in hand, game in hand. How have you seen Loudon season? I truly am dumbfounded that there's 10 games to go and we still have to play twice. I don't know how this happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Almost as weird as I think it was around June and July, where between the U.S. Open Cup and various fixtures in the season, that they had Loudon going to California, then going back, then to California again, then back to Virginia, then back to California, then I think North Carolina, and then California one more time.
The USL Championship does not care about your like sleep schedule or anything. It's just,
I know, right?
I guess frequent flyer points might get like accrued by the league.
Hope they
at least they got 2 or 3 of those California's trips as wins, so that's something.
Yeah.
Sure.
The third was against LAFC, which tip of the cap, I guess. They're the better team, but I'm sure they had fun, being able to play, and they're playing in LA. That was the thing. Anyways, but back on in the season itself, one funny thing I noticed is that kind of recently, both Rhode Island and Loudon have had 8-game unbeaten streaks. That they ended, but it shows that they built up resolve when nobody expected them to, pulling off that streak of just hard-fought wins or draws, depending on the opponent. And it was, I think that'll add some extra excitement and mystery to this coming match between our two sides.
Yeah, we'll get into score predictions at the end. I am still struggling to figure out what my score prediction is. I will get there within the next 20 minutes, but this
just flip a coin. See,
yeah, I'm always
two
wrong,
numbers
so.
And flip a coin. See who's going to win on it. Anyways,
I look at the last 5, and I see you guys beat Tampa, you lose to Oakland, you beat Miami, draw versus Pittsburgh, and a loss versus Charleston. So what's been like the change in the recent style of play lately, or what's the current like trend in style of play?
From what I can tell, it was Ryan Martin going from a 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1 variant to more of a 3-4-3, thus allowing the wing backs to push up a little more, especially useful on a counter or to absorb the enemy midfield's push.
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that does frustrate me about that being that while Loudon seems to have really good in the possession game, they don't get as many shots off, at least not until the second half, where it's like, oh shit, we better actually start attacking now.
Sure.
Sorry if I.
No, we keep the explicit rating on here. We are
okay.
We are truly the pubcast of RIFC.
Yeah. But I will say that, Ryan, thanks to not being tied down to what DC United's first team requires, he's been able to implement his own system. So that's a positive, able to make use of the players that are available to us at between injuries and skill levels.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like the 3-4-3 is always like the smash in cases of emergency formation that coaches go to. It's like just not working out.
It's either that or 4-4-2. It's one of those two, like without a doubt.
Yeah, I would have seen 4-4-2 as the standard. As much as I know about tactics, I haven't played enough Football Manager to say though.
Yeah, two Football Manager.
The fact that you know Football Manager is enough. Like that, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But one segment that we do here on Tide Talk is called the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've shifted it of late because of our unbeaten streak that we had and tried to do the good, better, best. But we'd like to hear the more cynical version of it and the good, bad, and ugly from you, Adam. And can you give us a good moment, a bad moment, and an ugly moment from the Loudoun United season so far?
Well, I'm going to say good was like the U.S. Open Cup run, even if it did, and with the defeat, they went further than anybody expected them to. I don't know if it's necessarily good, but it was a fun moment. Was in the first Open Cup match against the Richmond Kickers, we, about a couple dozen of us boarded a bus, and maybe a dozen more came their own way. 2 hours down to Richmond, we were all sitting in the stands doing our best to say what you will about Richmond Kickers. Their fans show up and to Steady Stadium. And we were out there supporting them. Somebody smuggled in an air horn. And after Dane Jacquemin made the final save in the PKs to send them on to the next round, Abdelatif Abukora took the air horn and he started singing with the rest of us. It was funny.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, those kind of moments are what makes like this league and everything so special.
Yeah.
All right, like Tyler adds, Richmond has one of the best attendances in League One. Their logo
is true.
Their logo reminds me of dodgeball. Like it looks like a dodgeball logo, so I always get like a little thrown off by that. But
yeah, that's also another. Let's see.
And then Kevin adds, Darren is the head coach for the Kickers. He's a Revs inaugural player, so New England connection up there as well. But that was your good. What do you got for your bad?
The bad, I think I might have gone over it already, but that there was, there's a lot of times where, despite Loudon winning the possession battle, they just kind of play around with the ball in the enemy box and forget to shoot until it's too late. And either they get dispossessed or take a wide shot over the bar to, because they're hearing footsteps. And which is kind of a shame because in contrast to the defense shoring themselves up from seasons past, and Hugo Farou, our goalie, being able to having massively cut down on his, traipsing outside of the box that he's occasionally done in years past. So, anyways, yeah. So I guess it might be repeating that's my bad. And as for the ugly, I'm not going to call it ugly, but I will call it weird. In that,
I like
that. I like this part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Korean movie was the good, the bad, and the weird. But anyways,
we might have to adopt.
Yeah.
We might have to adopt that. Like that might have to make an appearance after certain matches with results. Thank you for that, Adam.
Yeah, but look that movie up on Netflix or wherever later. But anyways, the weird part is that there's players that have shown up in 0-1 games, and just after that, I know they're on the roster, but I don't know where they are. Like Surafel Dagnachu, there was yes, Megatron, I do sometimes. depends on the atmosphere and the amount I've imbibed. Anyways, but yeah, the Surafel Dagnachu, Ethiopian national number 10, who came here with some fanfare. And there was a bit of confusion because he was introduced at a DC United event, but he had a Loudon jersey, and we heard from the staff that he was signed, but then he wasn't with the team until like, I think it was the Miami game where he actually showed up in a Loudon shirt to play for the first time. And now nobody knows where he is. I'm hoping it's just like an injury.
Okay.
And nothing serious. There's also Alex, and it's kind of simple with Alex Nagy and with Riley Bidouin, though in their cases it's more just bad luck. They were really hoping to hit it, and then Riley Bidouin was going to be with the New Zealand team in the Olympics, and then he got his knee injured before he could get on the plane. So poor guy. And Trevor Zvetslut, who is also a New Zealander, he got subbed in one game at the second half, picked up a yellow card, and 15 minutes later got subbed off, and we never heard from him again.
Oh, the boomerang.
Poor guy.
That's brutal for the ego.
Is there a specific New Zealand connection?
There might be, but I'd have to ask Ollie Gage about that.
Got it.
This is interesting.
That's two. It's two more New Zealanders we've had on the team than most pro soccer teams around the world have.
Right.
Outside of New Zealand. I mean.
That's how I compare New Zealand. I'm like, there's gonna be some kind of connection, like or cool story. But
it's just funny how that worked out.
Scott, our friend from across the pond and correspondent that we use here on Tide Talk, has what finishing position in the league would disappoint you guys? So you currently 7th. You got a game in hand on us right now, and we are currently level on points. So, what based on your start, based on how things have been going, what finishing position would disappoint your fan base?
I mean, I'm tempted to say, well, I'm just happy to be here, but in all seriousness, to just finish one shy of the playoffs in 9th, that would probably be
right. It's kind of what I figured.
Because if we get into I think at the moment, if we can just get into the playoffs, that'll be a victory. If we can go even further than that, then awesome. But let's get there first, and then we can talk about that. This is the first. I forget if I said it before, but this is the first time that we've got the playoff aspirations. There have been, whereas in previous things, you were just kind of playing out the string by this point in the season. So it's a big swing and big expectations.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So as we start to look, away from like kind of Loudon as a whole and their season towards the match on Saturday, for those of us who haven't maybe watched Loudon a ton, who are 3 players that RIFC fans should keep an eye on for Saturday?
Well, there's our captain, Zach Ryan, who's
so I got to pause you right there because I have a son named Zach, and his middle name is also Ryan, and he's started the Club Collector app with us. He's super in it. Like Ryan knows, he's on the rail yelling at every home game. But he's also started scrolling through FOTMob with me, and he looks at opponents, and he went, "Whoa, this other team has a Zachary Ryan. Like, how do I feel about that? What do I do about that?" So can you give me any like redeeming qualities? Like, is Zach Ryan a liked player? Is he like?
I mean, as far as I know, you have to be pretty liked to be the captain.
Sure.
Well, to have some pedigree. So
I wanted to ask you so I can play. Like he'll also.
But yeah, he was.
Watch the podcast.
But yeah, he's a couple of years ago when he got a red card for pushing a ref, we talked about it, and he was apologetic.
Kind of sounds like my son too when he plays. Yeah. So like this isn't too off kilter.
so yeah, but he was apologetic about that one. That was I think it was last season actually. Might be able to dig it up on our archives somewhere. But anyways, he's a good guy. He's also pretty good at finding routes into scoring. And I think of course, especially when he was getting off to a hot start, then other teams' coaches started either putting extra defenders to mark him, or they would find ways of cutting off the passing routes before the ball got to him. So for him, I can't read his mind, but I'm guessing that got him a little frustrated at times. But he's been getting a little better with his chances now. So yeah, Zach Ryan is being my number 1. Number 2, kind of an up and comer, who's been on and off with the team, Abdelatif Abukora, aka Bougie. He's been with the DC United Academy until recently when he signed an official contract, because they've, even though Loudon is not a reserve team anymore, more of an affiliate.
Sure.
So they don't have their own academy team, in DC United, until I hear otherwise, does not officially have a 2-team in MLS Next Pro. They've been talking about it with the Baltimore city and county governments, and 2 to 3 years at least before we see that form. But back on topic, Abdelatif Abukora, he just keeps finding ways. He's been playing like mostly right wing, but he can go on either side. He can find ways to dance around defenders and take shots. And when he comes off the bench, he provides an extra spark when the team's flagging down in energy. And number 3, I'll go with defender on this one, Robbie Dambrot, in part because he got LeBron James himself to apparently tweet his highlight goal from outside the box. But yeah,
I'll take it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it turns out that Robbie Dambrot's dad, Keith, was LeBron's high school basketball coach. Fun fact. But connection. Yeah. But as for the actual, on the field stuff, he's been great at locking down the left and center back parts, jumping the passing lanes, and coming up with crosses and long range strikes on occasion. So yeah, don't sleep on those 3.
I like that last one because that'll be interesting, because Jose Quazera down our left flank is one of our better options. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup plays out.
Yeah,
I
could also go with a few just honorable mentions. Kwame Awua, the big left back, Khalil El Medkar, who just came off injury to resume the number 10 role, and Hugo Faru, our starting keeper between the sticks. He's like I said, he's short. He's gotten better on his mistakes, and he's made some even better saves. So yeah,
gotcha there. Our guy Nate Ski always asks, and we always include it on the episode. And obviously very formation dependent and starter dependent, but kind of based on who's been getting the starts for you guys lately. Who's a super sub there, or somebody that could really come in and influence the game off the bench, typically that you could see impacting this one?
Well, to go back to my earlier point, definitely Abukora. When he's not starting, he's definitely our super sub guy. But if he is starting, then let me think. I guess we'd look towards Isaiah Johnston, who's able to shore up the defensive side, and Cole Turner's absence is able to solidify that midfield. Guy we just got off the Canadian team, I believe the Canadian Premier League previously. So keep an eye. So, he's not talked about as much, but I think that's because he does his job pretty well. If your defensive mid is in the highlights, he's either done something very good or very stupid. So.
Right. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier. So before I kick it to Ryan in the next segment here, UNS in it, if it wasn't for that turf, Loudon would be playing some of the most visually appealing football in the league. So talk about that and talk about the limitations of it.
Well, unfortunately, I don't control the turf, but I will say that, I guess this leads into the point about the stadium, Segra Field, kind of, reflects how we've been trying to work with the local parks department, as well as the the investors who put money into it.
Sure.
I've hinted at a little bit in episodes of Next in Line in the past, but the short version I'll give is, on one hand, yes, we've got the plastic turf field. We've got the repurposed shipping containers that serve as kiosks. And only recently have we put in like an actual jumbotron on one part of the field, and not just either renting something or not having one at all, besides a usual scoreboard. And yet, at the same time, Greg Baroni, the current majority owner of the team, he's also owned the Frederick Keys and Bowie Bay Sox single and double A baseball teams for the Baltimore Orioles, respectively. And so he's kind of brought that business sense to here as well after he took over year or two ago. Getting making sure it's kid and family friendly
Sure.
to go around, and as a result, been able to slowly getting some more folks coming in. So.
Yeah, I
We're still
looked at
working on
that
it.
question as very valid, just due to the fact that our match versus Detroit, we lost Isaac Anking for the season from a turf monster ACL tear, non-contact play there. So I know the turf battle. I coached a high school team that played on turf that was city maintained, so that was a very interesting and tough battle. So I know the artificial pitches are always a point of contention among supporters, amongst fans. I know we're supposed to be getting a hybrid version of it at our new stadium. So it's just always an interesting talking point, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they'll get to like, hybrid or grass at some point in the future. But right now, I think they're focusing on the other parts of the stadium first.
Sure.
But that's my speculation.
They're focusing on the parts they can make money on first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it. Again, this is my speculation.
Sure.
Perfect. So yeah, as we get deeper into the match here, so this is where we kind of like to talk about the keys to the matchup here. So what do you think would have to take place for Loudoun to keep all 3 points at home?
Well, winning the possession battle, keeping the leading the possession battle, I think is number one. Even though I did kind of mention it's a bit annoying to have the possession and not the shooting. I think as long as you keep the ball at your feet, you can have the other team doesn't have the chance to take it. So I know that sounds like a John Maddenism, but still.
Everyone has heard me talk about the same thing on here way too much. So
Ryan's key term is field tilt. It's all about field tilt, where you have the ball.
Yeah.
It matters.
Yeah. The other thing is number two, I suppose, is trying not to go down a goal early, because there have been times where it leads to a lot of, frustrating things that just kind of snowball down the hill. I'm trying to do a thing. Anyways, but yeah, it leads to a bit of frustration, but that they can do that. Then they can, if they can keep the lead or at least keep it close, then they keep that momentum going into the locker room to the second half, where, of course, as I've said before, they wake up and do a lot more shooting on the enemy net. Maybe it's a rope-a-dope strategy that Ryan Martin's got with the 3-4-3. And the number three key to the game, I suppose, is in either case, whether the first two are ahead, is that one of these players off the bench that I didn't mention gets a spark and leads it. Whether it's Gavin Turner, whether it's Pape Wayne, whether it's somebody else, just or maybe Alex Nagy returns from his weekend at Bernie's and takes the field by storm. We're waiting on you, Alex. We're all rooting for you to recover. But yeah, those are my three.
Perfect. And we usually frame it the opposite way of, I think you kind of covered most of this, but anything particular to call out, like if Rhode Island were to win the game, these couple of things would happen?
Well, they've been doing a better job at it lately, but, keep a cool head. Remember that the refs always see the retaliation. So, don't get yourself in foul trouble early with the yellows or even worse with the reds, because I know it sounds like an obvious point, but, all it takes is one or two players who got hit or think that the ref didn't see them get hit, and they carry that simmering in the back of their head, and then it just explodes later in the match, and next thing you know, you're down a man. Thankfully for Loudoun, it worked on the other team, but you want to keep a cool head when the refs' calls aren't going your way.
Sure. I hear that. I'm a teacher, so I always catch the retaliation. I never see the first thing, so I can definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because I feel like if we had this conversation, a couple months ago, as we probably should have if the schedule makers did their job, I feel like we would have probably been like, Rhode Island SC, we really have some trouble with yellow cards, especially, and we got a couple of reds. But I feel like we've kind of mellowed out a little bit on that front somehow. So hopefully it, sticks.
All right. So the big ending that we always end with on these away end episodes is the score prediction. So we've asked people to put it in the chat. So
Yeah.
we'll hit the chat first, and we'll get people's thoughts, and then we'll kick it around our panel here on air and see what we got. But our friend Evan has, if RIFC plays angry after last week, 2-0 RIFC. Kevin, aka Fluffy Cawhog Boy, has a 2-1 RIFC win. And also adds, I could see a draw, but we need 3 points for momentum. I can appreciate that. Our guy and blogger, Matt Hands, has a 2-2 draw. Ewan has a 2-1 RIFC, and Leslie Leggett gets the better of Turnbull. So can you talk a little bit about that matchup? Do you see that playing? How do you see that one playing out?
Ooh, yeah. Wes Leggett. Thought I mentioned him earlier, but I guess not. That was my bad.
All good. I know you had asked a few times, so I wanted to make sure I came back to this. Sorry
But yeah, Wes Leggett, he's a terror on the wings for the opposition. Been able to I think he's the second in the scoring next to Zach Ryan for this season, and a guy who just graduated from St. John's University. But on the field, yeah, he can find ways to get in, to slip in past the back line and put it on frame. So yeah, definitely another guy that you want to watch out for if you aren't already.
Pretty cool. So Tyler adds a 1-1 in a cagey match, and I think you, Adam, touched upon that with the discipline, and we've seen it from time to time with this RIFC team. Scott, our RIFC expert from Wales, has a 2-1 RIFC win. And that might be all we get. We got people. My chat's like all out of whack, out of order right now. So I think that's what we got. So actually, hold on,
Patrick T.
Yeah, Patrick T is got a 2-1 RIFC as well. So Ryan, because I still fully haven't formulated mine, I'm gonna kick it first and punt it on over. As our good friend Paul Lee called us punters. I hope Paul's watching from Paris right now. Jackson Lee, our one of our goalies' fathers, works with the Paralympics, so pretty cool. He's in Paris at the Paralympics right now, but just awesome. I didn't get to talk about it again after the Oakland match, but
I was gonna say we didn't have the Paulie Love Fest last week.
Awesome talking to him again. Like such a good guy. Told us about how he'll be in Paris for that, and so hope he's enjoying that. But we are punters, so I'm gonna punt this one over to Ryan and make him go first.
All is fair. All right, so as I said, I've been wrestling this one all week. These are two very, very evenly matched teams on paper. They have identical FOT-MOB ratings, almost the same amount of goals for. Loudoun a little bit stingier on the goals against. Loudoun is the 4th best team in the East on points at home. You're also the number 1 in passes per match, 5th in possession. So I think all of that is like very, very interesting. Clearly,
you've done your homework. Yeah,
Ryan is our stat guy. So like,
I would say, actually, disclaimer to our audience: I lost access to the stats I used to be using, so I'm trying to figure it out. But we'll get through.
A lot of AI pull going on right now.
It's not good. Yeah, it has ChatGPT. Who's gonna win? But so as Evan said, as for those of us at the match, Real FC was very, very frustrated with what happened against Oakland, as we all were. And I do think they're going to want to really get back to their winning ways. This one is as much of a 6-pointer as you can talk about, and we're going to have another one in a couple weeks here. Winner shoots up to that.
Some people will tell you otherwise, though.
Some people might. Winner shoots up into mid-table. Loser stays scrapping towards the playoff picture. So I was going to say 2-2 here, but I actually think I'm going to go 2-1, and here's why. Rhode Island FC.
Rhode Island? Right.
2-1 Rhode Island. Number one, I think with seeing that Loudoun is such a possession-heavy team, for those of you who have seen me do my little possession presentation, Rhode Island FC is actually significantly better when we don't have the ball. We tried to play this possession-based style to begin the year. We really were making a ton of mistakes. I think this actually helps us that Loudoun wants the ball. It's great for us. And I also think we can score early, and I think I could see we going up 2-0 going into halftime. Loudoun kind of having whatever MJ special stuff you guys have at halftime, getting a goal back pretty quickly, and then squeaky bum time the rest of the way. So I'm not promising that this is going to be a fun watch for any of us. This could be very difficult. I also have another prediction that just popped in my head. I think we are going to see the starting debut of Duggan at left center back to counter against Leggett. I thought he looked really, really good last game. I think, he has a couple of weeks training with the team. He's Adam, a player we have on loan from Minnesota United in the MLS. Yeah, big left German center back. So I think we could see him in the left of that back three to try to counter leg it there to let Quizera have the freedom that we know that can challenge the other team. So very long way to square up 2-1 round FC. I'm probably going to hate that pick in 10 minutes, but it's on record now.
Ryan, let me ask you this before I go to mine. Is him coming in? Is that Karifi Yao bowing out?
I was hoping you didn't ask that. Yes.
Sounded like Griffin Yao for a second there. He was the fun fact. Griffin Yao, the first official goal scorer in Loudoun United's history, before he moved on to DC United and then later team in Belgium's Jupiter League.
Oh, that's cool.
But sorry, go on.
No, that was Karifi Yao. I think out of our 3 center backs,
different Yao. Sorry,
he's the one that's I think is going to bow out. Scott has a Gabi Alves return. I don't see it happening. I love Gabi.
Yeah, we all do.
I think that if we're chasing a game late, we could see Gabi come on. But
I could see him as a very interesting left wing back defensive sub as well.
Sure. Or shoring things up and getting Quizera off and giving him a little bit of rest. But
yeah,
I'm with you, Ryan. I do think Duggan gets his first start.
I think the trio would be Duggan on the left, Stoneman in the middle, and Nadarsi on the right.
That's what we would hope for. I know we've talked about it and kind of alluded to it a few times on here, but I've gone back and forth a million times on this one. I like Tyler's earlier talk of the KG-1-1, and I kind of wanted to settle on that. But I also do like the fact that Loudon doesn't want the ball. And that's,
no, they love the ball.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Loudon loves the ball.
Big fans of the ball.
And that's where we
not fans of shooting it. Remember,
that's where we like to counter, and we are very, very lethal on the counter, much more lethal on the counter, and much more clinical on the counter than we are in possession-based victories. So I'm going to also go with 2-1. And like I said, I was
this is terrible news for Round FC.
This is bad. I was very. Adam, you might want to put money on a Loudon win based on the fact that 2 of us are putting it up. But I do like, and I do see Duggan getting the start. And I think that can make a big difference. And like you mentioned, Ryan, that really frees up Quizera and really kind of frees up Noah to get, more central and more forward. So interesting to see how that's all going to play out.
Also, if we're just throwing out tips for Kano, if he's watching, maybe start JJ Williams. I would do it.
Yeah, I think JJ comes back in for Doyle for this one. I really do, especially on the counter when you're going to be hoofing some more long balls than, dominating possession, and you want somebody to aerial win the ball and bring it down and feed in players behind him. I think it screams for JJ. I think Doyle could be a better sub for this one. So it'll be interesting.
Wait, actually, before we keep going on this whole tactics thing, we just always want to be clear. If you're from Loudon and you're on, don't stop listening. You're all loud. If you're on FC, you're allowed to listen. Keep going.
That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a really tight affair throughout. I think it's a.
Could you say? I mean, I know we said it's a 6-pointer. Like, I feel like this could feel a bit playoff atmosphere-y.
Oh, it should be. I think both of these matches between RIFC and Loudon will both be playoff matches.
So if it ends in a draw, then do we get to argue that we should go to penalties?
Ooh, maybe after. Well, we do have the return leg, so we can do an aggregate.
I guess we could
do an aggregate for all 6 points would be like I don't know how you can negotiate that mid-season, but that'd be a fun little twist.
Counterpart, the other Adam we'll refer to him now is going to watch this back. So for the return leg, we're going to have to make sure we have 2 Adams, 2 Tide Talks, 1 pod, make it all work for Patrick.
Just swap me out for Matt Hands. It'll work. It'll be good for optics.
Well, I'll see if we can get him on the next one.
One thing I wanted to ask you before signing off, I know you guys have had, Capelli as a sponsor. We have Capelli kits in gear as well. I've found the quality of the product very underwhelming. It seems to wear very quick. Have you noticed anything of that along the lines? Either compared to like an Adidas or whatever any other soccer club jerseys you may have owned in the past.
I mean, to me, the Capellis definitely feel a bit lighter in the back half of the shirt. But having said that, I do prefer them to the Adidas ones, especially since Capelli, the team has a little more say in how they're designed, produced, as opposed to Adidas.
Sure.
It's just whatever design they had on.
I can see that being like
they had off the rack.
It's not the cookie cutter template, but I guess the creative license of Capelli I really like, but
but if we're talking about the material,
the quality and long-termness of it, I've had questions.
I mean, it might be nice in a couple years when we can rotate out more jerseys than the 2 that we have currently.
Sure.
Yeah. And having said that, I'm going to need a few years before I can say for certain
Fair.
whether this one is, able to withstand me taking it out every so often.
Gotcha. All right, Adam.
I guess we can ask the players that as well. Oh yeah, and I forgot to give my prediction.
No, I was gonna say, here's the big finish. We're gonna put you on the spotlight here. What do you got for your score prediction for this one? And I guess also, what's the weather supposed to be like? That's one thing I always like to, kind of look at.
Well, the weather has, on one hand, gotten a bit cooler, so I guess it's because a sign that summer is ending and kids are going back to their respective schools. On the other hand, the weather gods like to mess with us by having it thunderstorm for like 10 minutes.
Sure.
During home games. It seems like it's happened like 2 of the last 3. So unfortunately I can't control that part. So just pray for good weather in the next couple of days. It seems, knock on wood, like it won't be a factor as it was in previous home matches. Having said that, I'm going to go wild here and say, I'm going to say 3-2 Loudoun with a last-second goal by Wes Leggett or Abu Kora, just as I'm tearing my hair out in the stands.
You have hair, we don't, so it's okay.
The balds.
Yeah, sorry about the lighting on my end, but I kind of do look a bit wolfmanish. I got no mean to humble brag here.
It's okay.
All good.
But yeah, that's
all right. So I would say your game sounds a lot more fun than the prediction I made. So there you go.
But yeah, but I understand that, with us being homers, we got to root for our respective teams, even if it seems
0-0 draw coming up, everybody.
Even if it seems wildly optimistic at times, it's just as likely that both teams spend all their time defending, and it just turns into a 0-0 affair. Who knows?
Well, it's like last week we had Jonathan on from the Oakland blog, and he literally, before he said his prediction, he's like, "To be clear, I've literally never predicted Oakland to lose, so I'm gonna not change that right now." I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I do like that. I'm very opposite. I'm usually very critical on the score prediction.
Well, I think the only time I've predicted us to lose was the Louisville match when we beat them 5-2. So yeah, I mean, I should start doing it every match if they're going to keep doing that. But
there you go. But before we do sign off, Adam, just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to join us and giving our listeners and viewers some insights to this match. But any final thoughts or any big takeaways you want to get across before we sign off on this one?
Well, thank you all for having me on here, and I really do appreciate it. And, come to Loudoun. It's the part that's around the Dulles Airport that most folks don't stop at. But, and yes, it's, people have voiced their concerns, those who have kids in DC United Academy who have to drive all the way here, either through Maryland or from DC itself to get to Leesburg. And yet, having said that, we've got good people here. We've got good wine, good food. We're working on the rest of the culture part, but as when you can have it.
So it's a good foundation, though.
Yeah, surrounded by data centers and townhomes and tech workers to support those data centers. So, having said that, trying to be more than just that in this neighborhood, and having a local USL club just 15-minute drive from where I live is very convenient. It's very great. And we're trying to build a soccer hooligan culture as much as we can.
Awesome.
Maybe without the beer bottle throwing part, but we'll see.
We like to think of ourselves similarly as that. There's a lot of Twitter beef that occurs after certain games, and we like to think that Tide Talk is the hooligan leg of the Defiant 1636, and we are the Twitter tacklers, and we'll go on and go to war with people. Hopefully not you guys, because you seem like a good guy. But I'm excited to do this again. I don't have the exact date, but shortly, very soon, as Ryan mentioned with the schedule. So
and depending on the date and time, maybe I can stop by in Rhode Island one of these days.
If I were you, I would totally wait till next year and do it at the new stadium. It's going to be awesome.
Ooh.
So that's what we want. And if you do, you have our contact info. So we'd be glad to grab a couple of beers with you the night before, morning of, or throughout. So that's what we do.
Yeah, maybe not the morning,
drink and we know things. No. That morning of is totally.
And it's a 4 o'clock game. And also for everyone paying attention, October 13th is that date.
Yeah, so we'll definitely do this again. We'll have you.
Yeah, I'm going to be out of town right now.
All right, we'll have you, hopefully the other Adam on as well, and do another preview episode. But Ryan, always good to see you again on the
screens. On a recorded conversation again.
And I'll throw this out there for you. Congratulations, big day for Mr. Ryan Healy. Bought his first house today, so
Mazel tov.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So, any final thoughts you got, Mr. Healy?
I don't feel good about my prediction, but
yeah.
But no, honestly, I think this one's gonna be cool. Again, like I said, it's gonna be a playoff atmosphere. And yeah, this next stretch, hey, we're in the run-in. I think it's gonna be fascinating to see how these next 10 games shake out. Who claims like basically 4th or even 3rd through 8 is gonna be fascinating.
I guess we're both optimistic
yeah.
about our chances in that.
Yeah.
May the best team win. And as I like to sign off, Adam Mendelovitz here from Next in Line. You can check us out at various wherever podcasts are. And at some point, maybe we'll get back into video content when me and the other Adam have the energy to do so. Sure. But as always, stay loud and united.
Love that.
I do like that. For me, it just feels good being back on a podcast again. Just like I said, the personal schedule has been wild. I'm ending my summer at Country Fest tomorrow with Zach Brown Band and Kenny Chesney at Gillette. So I'm excited for that. I might fly the Tide Talk flag in the tailgate. So if anyone else is going, take a look at that. My canopy is going and it's kind of clipped to it, so it's just gonna make its rounds. It's gonna happen anyway. But like Ryan said, I'm not really feeling the preview that I gave or prediction that I gave for this one. My heart's telling me 1-1 draw. My head's telling me.
Oh, don't do this whole hedging.
Yeah,
thing.
No, I'm not. I'm sticking with my 2-1. But
I see you type anything different in the Discord, I'm gonna be pissed.
No, very, very, very torn on that. But that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for daily social media content. Click the link in this episode description to follow all of our accounts. I've been your host, Matt, for my good friend Ryan, and for Adam joining us. We thank you for spending some time and hopping in the chat and making this episode interactive with us. We appreciate you. No live show at Providence Brewing, but there is another watch party at Providence Brewing, or you can go there or the Guild for this one. I don't know how hungover I'll be from the concert, but I'll post on socials where I'm going to be. And probably Providence is just closer to my house. It's a little bit easier, but thank you again for all of us who joined. We're going to have a set schedule come out for the rest of our live shows for the season, probably by Monday. So if you're not following us on the socials and you want to get to one of those live shows, make sure you do it, in the 3 or 4 away matches that we have. So it should be pretty good. But thanks again for joining. As always, up the tide.
Up the tide.